all an accident. I'm completely innocent.
In every missing child case, time is precious and truth is everything. But in the disappearance of baby Emmanuel Haro, the truth was clouded from the very beginning. When investigators first questioned Rebecca Haro, the account she gave sounded simple on the surface, but the more they pressed, the more cracks began to appear. The timelines didn't add up, the details shifted, and soon the story collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions. Why would a mother or a family member report a version of events that was not true? Was it a desperate attempt to protect herself from suspicion? Was it an effort to shield someone else in the family? Or was it the cover for something far darker, something no one wanted exposed? For investigators, Rebecca's story wasn't just inconsistent, it was alarming, because in cases like this, every second matters. A false statement doesn't just mislead, it steals away the most critical window of time in finding a missing child. Tonight we dive deep into the lies, the family history steeped in violence, and the chilling possibilities behind Rebecca Haro's false report to the authorities. And at the heart of it all, one question that refuses to go away: where is baby Emmanuel? Before we get into the full breakdown, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates on this case. Give this video a like so Emmanuel's story reaches more people. And drop your location in the comments. I want to know where you're watching from as we spread this story across the world. When baby Emmanuel was first reported missing, Rebecca Haro tried to calm the storm. She painted a picture that suggested everything was under control. To authorities, she spoke with a kind of forced confidence. She insisted Emmanuel was safe. She gave explanations that, at first glance, might have seemed believable, but it didn't take long for investigators to sense that something wasn't right. The more Rebecca talked, the more her account began to unravel. Timelines failed to align with phone records and witness accounts. Statements she made one day contradicted what she said the next. Key details were inconsistent, sometimes vague, other times strangely elaborate. Detectives noticed something else too: Rebecca's tone. At moments when most parents would be overwhelmed with panic or pleading for help, she seemed guarded, almost rehearsed. It wasn't just a red flag, it was a warning flare. Every inconsistency drew investigators closer to one disturbing possibility. The story Rebecca was telling wasn't just flawed, it was false. And that raised an even bigger question. Why would someone in such a desperate situation, where every second counted, choose to mislead the very people searching for her child? Was it the panic of a mother terrified of losing custody? Was it the instinct to shield another family member from suspicion? Or was it something far more deliberate, a calculated attempt to hide the truth about what really happened to Emmanuel? For investigators, these weren't abstract questions. Every false lead wasted precious hours, and every contradiction pushed them further from the one thing that mattered most: finding baby Emmanuel alive. To understand Rebecca's actions, investigators had to step back and examine the family she came from, a family with a dark history already stained by violence and deception. Her brother, James Beushausen, is not just a footnote in this story. He is serving a 50-year prison sentence for the brutal 2017 murder of his girlfriend, Jalen Keith. But what makes this crime especially chilling is the way James tried to rewrite reality itself. Prosecutors laid out the disturbing details. James didn't just kill Jalen. They say he knocked her unconscious, dragged her into a bathtub, and then shot her in the head. He shielded himself with a shower curtain, and when the deed was done, he tried to make it look like she had taken her own life. The cover-up was elaborate. He used Jalen's own phone to search for suicide methods, planting digital evidence to support his version of events. He called 911 and claimed he had been asleep when she pulled the trigger. He even tried to explain away the sounds of violence in a small 400-square-foot apartment by insisting he never heard a gunshot. But prosecutors, led by Assistant District Attorney Michelle Paradise, dismantled his story piece by piece. Another head injury was discovered that didn't match his account. Witnesses testified to Jalen's growing fear. And the most damning fact of all, Jalen had told her friends and family that James had grown violent. She said he smashed her phone. She said he had threatened her with a gun just the day before her death. In her final messages, she warned them he was acting, in her words, psycho. The defense argued Jaylen was depressed, struggling with health issues and personal losses. But the prosecution was clear. Her condition was under control. She never expressed suicidal thoughts. Even James himself admitted as much. This was not suicide. This was murder, followed by a carefully staged illusion, designed to mislead police, family, and the public. And that's what makes Rebecca's actions so alarming. When she gave her own false account about baby Emmanuel, investigators couldn't ignore the connection. This was the same family where lies were not just told, but weaponized. Could deception run in the bloodline? Could manipulation be more than a choice? Could it be their way of survival? For law enforcement, this question was impossible to overlook. Because in both cases, the lies weren't just casual. They were strategic. They were dangerous. And they had deadly consequences. In every investigation, the first question detectives ask when a story doesn't add up is simple: why lie? What could possibly be gained by giving a false account, especially when a child's life is at stake? In Rebecca Haro's case, several disturbing possibilities emerge. First, fear of accountability. Rebecca may have feared that the truth, whatever it was, would land directly on her shoulders. If she had neglected Emmanuel, if she had left him in unsafe conditions, or if she suspected that investigators might view her as responsible for his disappearance, lying might have felt like the only way to protect herself. In the eyes of the law, even negligence can carry devastating consequences. For a mother facing the possibility of losing custody, or worse, criminal charges, the temptation to bend the truth can be overwhelming. Second, protecting someone else. Another possibility is loyalty, twisted by fear. Was Rebecca lying to shield another family member? Could she have been covering for someone who harmed Emmanuel, or someone who played a direct role in his disappearance? We've seen this before in countless criminal cases, family ties binding tighter than the pursuit of justice. Sometimes people lie not out of guilt, but out of a desperate need to protect someone they love, even if that protection comes at the expense of the truth. Third, buying time. False statements don't just confuse investigators, they delay them. And in cases involving missing children, delay can be deadly. Every false lead forces detectives to spend hours, sometimes days, chasing ghosts. If Rebecca's story was deliberately misleading, it may have been an attempt to buy time. But time for what? To conceal evidence, to align alibis, or to distance herself from whatever really happened to Emmanuel. Fourth, a pattern of manipulation. The most chilling possibility connects directly back to Rebecca's family history. Her brother staged a murder to look like suicide. Could Rebecca have been staging her own narrative, building a false reality to cover something darker? Lies of this magnitude don't just happen in isolation. Sometimes they're learned behaviors, patterns passed down in families where manipulation is a survival tool. If deception is normalized, then lying to the authorities may have felt less like a risk and more like instinct. Criminal psychologists often point out that when the stakes are high, custody battles, criminal charges, reputational ruin, people will often resort to lies, even knowing those lies will eventually unravel. Lies buy comfort in the moment. They delay consequences, even if only briefly. And for someone trapped in a crisis, a few hours of escape can feel like a lifeline. But here's the brutal truth. Every lie wastes time. And in a case like this, time is the one resource baby Emmanuel didn't have. Each contradiction, each false trail, each misdirection pushed investigators further away from the only thing that truly mattered: finding him alive. And so the question lingers. Were Rebecca's lies born from fear, from loyalty, from manipulation? Or were they part of something far more sinister, a deliberate attempt to bury the truth forever? The disappearance of baby Emmanuel is not speculation. It is not rumor. It is not a story to be exaggerated or downplayed. It is real. A child is gone. And the longer the truth remains hidden, the colder this case becomes. In missing child investigations, there is one rule every detective knows by heart. The first 48 hours are critical. Those early hours often determine whether a child is found alive or lost forever. Leads are fresh. Witness memories are clear. Surveillance footage is still available. Every second counts. But when Rebecca gave her false report, investigators weren't searching for Emmanuel. They were chasing shadows. Instead of piecing together his last known movements, they were unraveling contradictions. Instead of tracking potential suspects, they were sorting through half-truths. And that wasted time may have been the difference between hope and heartbreak. Because while authorities were busy disproving Rebecca's account, the trail leading to Emmanuel was growing colder by the hour. The consequences of lying in a case like this aren't abstract. They are devastating. A false statement doesn't just delay justice, it can erase it. Evidence disappears. Witnesses forget. Leads vanish. And the child at the center of it all, the one who cannot speak for themselves, is the one who pays the ultimate price. So the haunting question remains: why did Rebecca lie? Was her story simply a shield to protect herself from suspicion? Was it an act of loyalty, desperate and misguided, to protect someone else? Or was it the smokescreen for something far more sinister, something she hoped would never be uncovered? One truth, however, is undeniable. While adults debated, deceived, and delayed, baby Emmanuel remained missing. And with every passing day, the silence around his absence grows louder. In the end, lies can delay justice, but they cannot erase the truth. The disappearance of baby Emmanuel Haro is more than a mystery. It is more than one family's dark secret. It is a reflection of how fragile our systems can be when it comes to protecting the most vulnerable among us, our children. Rebecca's false story may one day be fully explained. Maybe it was born out of fear. Maybe it was to protect someone else. Or maybe it was part of something far more sinister. But until the full truth comes to light, Emmanuel's absence will remain a haunting reminder of the devastating cost of every lie. Because at the heart of this story is not Rebecca, not James, not the lies, the contradictions, or even the manipulation. At the heart of this story is a child, a little boy who never had the chance to speak for himself. So I'll leave you with this question. What do you think Rebecca was hiding? Was it fear? Was it loyalty? Or was it guilt? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video to keep Emmanuel's story alive, because the more people who hear his name, the harder it becomes for his case to fade into silence. And if you want to follow every update as this case unfolds, make sure you subscribe, because baby Emmanuel deserves answers. He deserves justice. And until the truth is revealed, his story must be told.